Alright, welcome to the weekly gaming quick save show recorded live at 3 p.m. Pacific time every Friday right here on Twitch. On this week's show, we're going to watch as the Empire strikes back. We're talking about PlayStation experience and also first 25 hours or so of Xenoblade Chronicles X. First, let's take a look at some of the top stories of the week. That's the wrong button. Don't hit that button. But speaking of Star Wars, people are already lining up for the new movie. This is a week in line, or a little less if you're like a Thursday night crazy person. That's fine if you want to do that. I'm sure you'll be happy with your life sitting in line. But really, if you take a look at it, it kind of goes against all the Jedi tenets, right? This is kind of like Buddhism, no material possessions, really just being selfless. So if you were a real fan, a real Jedi fan, you wouldn't be in line. You just chill out. Just relax at home. It'll be okay. You'll make it through this. Okay? It'll be alright. Other news, Gone Home is finally coming to consoles. This is a really, really good game. I recommend you play it. It's like an actually good and worthwhile Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Because that game's not that great. Now, we're getting to the end of the year, so there's not a lot of news happening. So we're going to go into a couple of things that happened at the PlayStation Experience conference that Sony did. Number one, Uncharted. Now, how many times are we going to see this game? Because it is every goddamn time, over and over and over with this Uncharted. It's exhausting. Just release the damn game. I'm done with it. Now, Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming along quite nicely and a lot further than we all kind of thought. It's also going to be split into pieces or something. Who knows? Now, regardless of how you feel about this, it's not worth crying over. I'll give you something to cry over. Final Fantasy VI is coming to PC. That's not the crying part. The crying part comes when you realize it is the shitty mobile version with the bad UI and the sprite art that looks like it's from 1998 fan art on some kind of Yahoo pages. Square, that is exactly the version I wanted. That is the version everyone wanted. In my wildest hopes and dreams, that's the garbage I wanted. Yes, that is what I wanted, Square. Thank you for that. Bunch of idiots over there. Now, the rest of the conference really, it's a bunch of semi-interesting indie games and a lot of PlayStation VR. Now, if you're excited about what they showed with PlayStation VR, you have been drinking so much Kool-Aid, you might be close to drowning. So I recommend you look around you. Make sure you're not about to be submerged. Now, don't get me wrong, this Eagle Flight game, some other things they showed, that could be really cool. But don't lie to yourself and think that this is going to be just as captivating as Metal Gear Solid 5 or Fallout 4 or Witcher 3 or any other AAA title that came out this year, because it's not going to be. It just can't. And realistically, when you look at it, they've only shown 2 games that aren't tech demos or little weird things that you're only going to play for an hour, and that's Eve Valkyrie and the Ace Combat game. Those are kind of niche games. And also, speaking of games you're only going to play for an hour, that Zombie Crazy Taxi game, if you're going to play that game for over an hour, how high are you? Because no one's going to play that for over. It boggles my mind. So the release of this thing is going to be a shit show. It really is. It's not looking good to me. It's not looking good at all. I mean, bearer of bad news. It better not be the bearer of bad news, because you should have known that. Now, also, we knew this was going to happen, but a bit of a surprise announcement. Bastion is coming to Vita. So we're going to break the regular format and talk about Bastion just for a minute. This piece of shit game, it is unfathomable to me why people like this game so much. Arguably one of the most overrated games of all time. No hyperbole. Okay, maybe a little hyperbole. Now, sure, great art style. Whatever. Looks great. Cool, unique storytelling. Whatever. Shitty, boring, monotonous gameplay that is terrible. Check mark on that square. Okay, so you have all these melee weapons. They basically function as the same weapon, a boring 3-hit combo. None of the weapons combo into each other or together at all. They're basically all independent. So why would you ever have 2 melee weapons? So you pick another ranged weapon. But all the ranged weapons are basically the same weapon. They just differ in damage and cooldown time. So why? And then there's the rolling with the attacks. You can't even attack and then roll and do like a different attack, or attack, roll, attack. There's no different combos. It's the same 3-hit combo in a game where all you're doing is attacking enemies with your freaking sword. It's baffling to me. But hey, you know what? If you like Bastion, that's fine. That's fine. Dude, you gotta do you. This is my opinion. You gotta do you. I just expect good gameplay from my games. That's all. That's all. That's it. And you know what? Bastion's ruined this segment. It's over now. Thank you, Bastion. We're going to go right into the topics of the week. I wish one of those topics was hating on Bastion for another 15 minutes, because that game deserves it. And maybe not 15 minutes, but it deserves something. You know, I have far too many windows open. Boom. I guess this is a review. I don't know. We're talking about PlayStation experience. We're going to get right off this tab. Boop. Now, this specifically, not the conference itself, because I'm sure it's great, but not the event itself, the conference that Sony did. This thing is so. Well, we'll start at the beginning. So we got Uncharted, and as I said earlier, Uncharted over and over and over again. I don't need to see Uncharted 80, 90 times. It's too many times. Okay? Let's get over that. Now, they front-loaded this, and I'm not the first person to say this. They really front-loaded this thing with Uncharted, and then Final Fantasy VII. Dude, Final Fantasy VII, no one expected to see this at all. Gameplay? Actual gameplay. Now, granted, the frame rate looked kind of shitty in the combat, but actual gameplay? No one expected that. That is how you end a conference. That is how you end a conference. You don't end it with, I don't even remember what they ended it with. Sure as shit wasn't Final Fantasy VII. Now we're getting into the weeds here, because it's going to be Street Fighter V. Alright, again, Battleborn, this game. Let's see what I wrote down in my notes. This is what, I forget his name, Randy Pitchford? This is his quote. It's crazy, exciting, and a lot of fun. You're the fucking developer, dude. Of course you're gonna say that. Why would you even say that? Baffling. Baffling is what this is. Hold on. Okay. We're gonna move on. Dead Star. Again, when I was talking about random indie games that look okay, sure, Dead Star looked alright. Don't starve. Dead Star doesn't matter. Day of the Tentacle Remastered. Sure, I'm sure this is great for people who like adventure games. But we're getting into the shit now. Adult Swim actually had some cool things to show. I think I wrote it down. Death's Gambit, that looked good, looked like a cool Metroidvania type of thing. Okay, Raise the Duck looked dumb. I did write that down. It was just the one game. I'm sorry, it was just the one game that looked good. There's nothing good in this show. Okay. Yakuza 0. Niche audience, but good to see it. Good to see it. Neo. This, one of the few highlights of the show to me, very much looks like Dark Souls and people are saying Onimusha and fucking fuzz flying around. This could be good. This is exciting. Okay, good. We got one good thing so far. Let's continue down the list. King of Fighters. This game, brutal, very interesting art style. No idea how the game plays. No idea if this is it looks kind of like roguelike roots. Probably not a roguelike. It looks like it got co-op. I would say co-op's a lock on this. Is it a Diablo type game? Is it... This basically could be a racing game for all they showed in that trailer, but it's not. Baseball. Never heard of it. Pet Princess Adventures. Looks like a really shitty Diablo clone. Okay, this is like 10 hours of my life watching this fucking thing. Guns up. No. Ratchet and Clank? Yeah, Ratchet and Clank look alright. Let me get to Rez. Now, everyone seems to be pissing their pants over this stupid Rez thing. Rez is fine. This is a fine game, sure, whatever. Again, a game for drugs. We're not quite sure what came first, drugs or Rez, but researchers are on it. We got our top men on it, and women. Gotta be inclusive. But really, are you excited for Rez on VR? Really, all 5 of you who give a shit are actually gonna buy VR for that? Get out of here. Eagles Flight. That could be interesting. That could be interesting, but again, this is a tech demo. This is a tech demo that will be fun for an hour or two. Maybe you'll show friends. Maybe it'll be some interesting thing, but really? You think this is going to be the saving grace of VR? None of that was gameplay, FYI, also. Modern Zombie Taxi Cab. Not sure if any of that was gameplay because the art style probably was some of the gameplay. Another game that you're going to have to be stoned off your ass to play. Who is going to play this game? This is your VR showcase. Look it, you're a zombie taxi man. Really? I mean, different strokes for different folks, but I think I'd sooner have a stroke than play that game. Ridiculous. I'm not even following my notes, I'm just following this thing. One good thing about the show, a lot of the stuff was like, hey, this is out today. Like Bastion was out today, that Princess was out today, some other crap was out today. The Yakuza game was like this week. That's great. Good for you. Now let's continue onward. Golem. No gameplay. This means nothing. This trailer means nothing. Next. Ace Combat 7. Also no gameplay, but we know Ace Combat. That's kind of cool. That's an actual game. That is an actual AAA game. I don't know why I did a weird wink. An actual AAA game for VR. So good. You got one. Destiny Sparrow League. Sure. Hob. Hob, probably the most interesting thing they showed to me because this looks kind of like a Zelda game. Great. Actually, I lied. Ni no Kuni 2. Definitely the most exciting thing. Ni no Kuni 1. Oh, why do I keep blinking? There, fucking something in my eye. There's great game. Great game, Ni no Kuni. Love to see it. Looks phenomenal. I agree with some, I wouldn't say criticism. Why is this character a dude? It sounds like a chick. It's got weird cat ears. I'm not digging the art for the dude, the main king dude. But whatever, that's, who cares? Who cares about that? Paragon. Cool art style. Really cool art style. No gameplay. But it's a MOBA-y type game. So sure, it's from Epic. I like Epic. They're going to make something epic. Oh, we're at the end? And like 3 things were good? This show was pretty bad. And it was tough to watch. Because it was long, and it was boring, and nothing was shown, really. How many new things were there, really? Neo, actually, is a game that was announced a long time ago that was kind of in development hell. So Ni no Kuni 2, and surprise gameplay for Final Fantasy VII. And Hob looked nice, but that's not an announcement. Now, I don't know what I was expecting from this show, but I was expecting something a lot better, and it was pretty bad. Pretty bad, pretty long, pretty boring, pretty stupid. As someone who owns a PS4 and a Vita, but I don't really game on my Vita, sorry Vita. There is no reason. There's Uncharted 4 and Ni no Kuni 2. That's why you have a PlayStation, because everything else on here is garbage. Just bullshit. No one wants to play these stupid VR games. You're gonna play them for an hour, and it's not gonna be fun. If you think, Sony, if you think you're gonna launch a VR device with fucking Ace Combat, not guaranteed, not gonna happen at launch for the fucking thing. I doubt it. If all you had to show was not gameplay, you're gonna launch this with what? No Man's Sky? You better hope it's No Man's Sky launch with that shit. Because if it's not, it's Crazy Taxi with zombies and a game where you're an eagle. And maybe Eve Valkyrie. Oh, that's riveting. That's riveting. Really makes me open my pocketbook and give you $400 fucking dollars. Really riveting. Plus I have to use these move controllers. Get out of here. Just get out of here. You've lost your damn mind, Sony. There's nothing else to say about this. You've lost your damn mind. I'm not the first person to say this either. This show should have been rearranged. It should have ended with the Final Fantasy VII gameplay. It should have maybe had Uncharted in the middle. There's still also talk. Sony Bend. No game from them. Sony Santa Monica showed off something, but that's not the main thing they're working on. It was some VR thing, I forget. The 100,000-foot robot golf game. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure that's gonna be great. I'm sure that's the next Fallout. I'm sure. Are we even looking at the same thing here? I'm sorry. I love indie games. You know, I'll defend games like Gone Home or Super Meat Boy, totally different games. But that's not what you want for this VR thing you're spending $400 on. You want something that's going to. You want No Man's Sky. That's what you want. That's what you want. You're not going to get anything. You're going to get garbage. It's a good bet for the future, but right now, no. And I feel like we've been talking about VR for like 16 years. 16 years would take us into the 90s, so that's about right, actually. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. I don't care to get it. I'll never get it. Not making a lot of noise thing. It is time for yet another very late and very uninformed movie review. Today is The Empire Strikes Back. Oh man, this movie. Now a lot of people say this movie is their favorite of the original trilogy. So we're gonna go down to my notes. Now first offense, because I'm gonna be nitpicky. There's no mention of Darth Vader's ship spinning off into space and being rescued. Fine, whatever. No one seems surprised on either side. Whatever. I'm not sure the year differential between New Hope and this movie, and I don't care to look it up. So that's whatever. First of all, we got snowy Hoth planet. Hoth planet? Snowy planet. Too cold. Too damn cold. I hate it. Too cold. Can't do it. Can't do it. Too damn cold. And I also don't buy why Han is still here. Now, I understand he helped him out and whatever, and he's kind of a good guy. But then he's immediately going to leave him. Like, that's the Han I know, because he's got to pay some debts. Why he didn't just pay his debts already? And he's like, I guess I'm going to be a rebel now for a couple weeks or months or however long, 10 years, I don't know. The best part of this movie is the noticeable production value increase. Got a lot of cool stuff here, like snow. Snow costs money. But the beginning of this movie, maybe it's because I know what's going to happen, is that it's just kind of boring. Not in like a bad way, but it's just kind of slow. It's like, oh, Luke got captured by a snowman. The abominable snowman, and alright. Snowman. Now here's where we get to the actual part that has some issues going on. Their relationship makes no sense to me. They are constantly arguing, and not in like a cute old married couple way. Like, it seems like she genuinely hates him, and he is constantly badgering her. And they do it also in this really like juvenile way where they're constantly talking about kissing. Like, it's really weird. It doesn't make any sense. Clearly, he can tell that she likes him, but it doesn't make any sense when they're yelling at each other like this. They're yelling at each other like she was molested or something. Like, Han did something bad, and we'll get to We'll get to Assault later because it happens. Other note, Darth Vader's helmet looks good now because in the first one it kind of looked like cardboard. It needed to be shiny, and now it be shiny. We'll move down. Now, I didn't have to get a picture of it, but when Luke is frozen, he looks like a zombie, and I really like that picture. I couldn't find a picture of it, though. I'm not quite sure what this death egg is with Vader, but I like it. It's weird, but I like it. Now, here he sees a vision. This is the key problem. He tells no one where he is going. And you might be saying, well, of course he wouldn't, because then they could tell, the Empire where Luke is. But they don't know the Empire is looking for Luke. And furthermore, I don't even know how Vader knows that's Luke, or knows his name. It doesn't no one ever tells him that, do they? Do they tell him? Do they tell Luke? Do they tell Darth Vader that is Luke? That is Luke Skywalker. I don't think anyone ever mentioned it. I don't think anyone ever told him. He just knows for the Force. That doesn't mean you know people's names, does it? I don't know. It's never explained. Again, the juvenile kissing. It's not good. I mean, they have decent chemistry, all of them, except for C-3PO. But I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all, and we're going to get more into that later with the Assault. Now, for a different type of Assault, Attack on Hoth is great. But it's been in so many video games and other scenes now that I feel underwhelmed by it. Because I've seen it so many damn times. And they give them these dumbass helmets. Constantly with this series. Dumbass helmets. Again, another problem. Luke immediately is like, oh, let's trip him. But it doesn't say let's trip him with the harpoon wire. He just says use your harpoon. And everyone in the fleet knows. I guess we use harpoons now, and that's what we do. We fly around, shoopity-shoopity-shoo. And then they shoot the top of it, and it blows up in like 2 shots. What? Oh, I forget. That deactivates the shield or something. It's something weird. They rationalize it. That's right. They rationalize it. Before we get to that. Before we get down to that. Okay. Oh, yeah. They separate Luke from Han and Leia. And that's interesting because it actually is something they do a lot in the prequels. Well, they'll separate Obi-Wan and Anakin for like the entirety of episode 2 and 3. And then bring them back together, which I think is actually a really good format and very interesting. Now, the borderline assault that happens when they're escaping and then they're landing inside the giant worm asteroid. This isn't right. This is picking up some real skeevy vibes from Han in the scene. And granted, they do kiss, and it does seem mutual, but it was really, she sure takes off pretty quick. I mean, C-3PO is a robot. Why are you embarrassed by this robot man? Bounty Hunter is cool. They're shown for like 5 seconds. I don't know where everyone gets all crazy about them. I always liked the scene of where they're like, oh shit, we are inside a creature. That is cool. That is original. That's awesome. Great. Great. These are great things about this movie. Great things. We're also halfway through the freaking movie and like nothing's happened. Yoda. Great. Kind of hard to hear, which is weird. Maybe I'm losing my hearing. I don't know. Who knows? Kind of hard to hear. So we're going to move on a little bit. Yoda. This scene. Not sure what it means. I'm not sure why there was this area of the cave forest is strong with the dark side. Why? Why here? You're Yoda. Why are you so close to the dark side area? Did you know this was going to happen? How did Luke get out of this cave? A lot of questions. There's a lot of problems here too, because he has another recollection. This is his training moment. There was no montage, but I understood training happened without the montage. Now, Yoda, someone who Luke agrees with as being the supreme Jedi in the universe, galaxy, whatever. He explicitly disobeys Yoda. I gotta go save my friends. But Yoda, who is basically like God, is telling you no. And then Ben Kenobi also telling you, no, don't do that, Luke. That's a bad move. And yet he still goes. And then we get the ominous there is another, which is Leia. Or is it? I think it might not be Leia. I think it might be some other space alien. Who the hell knows? Who cares? Cloud City, great. Cloud City's great. Cool design, makes no sense. Why would you put a city in the clouds? On a little stick? Is it flying? Is the thing flying? That sure seems like it takes a lot of energy. Now Lando, people like Lando, but he's in like 3 scenes, and he's a dick in 2 out of 3 scenes. So I don't get that either. There is better dialogue in this movie than in probably any of the prequels for sure, and in 4. But it's just so contrived. A lot of these things, like they get in an asteroid, and they have to escape again, and they hide on the back of the Star Destroyer, and then they do this. It's just constantly everything's broken. Millennium Falcon is broken for like 3 hours in this movie. And Lando's a creep. Everyone's a creep to Leia in this movie. Whoa, didn't mean to do that. This is cool. Torture's not cool. Torture bad. Torture bad. Make sure you tell your parents. There's no reason for him to be tortured. He knows nothing. They're not even asking him questions, really. I guess you could get the rendezvous point for the... It doesn't matter. It makes no sense. Tree rebuilding C-3PO. Also kind of unnecessary, but cool and very infamous. I love him on the back and he's flipping around. That's fun. That's a fun time. Not a fun time. Carbonite, not a fun time. Also on Cloud City, they're apparently so much in a relationship now. They're kissing and holding hands like a bunch of weirdos. I don't buy it. I buy the Han and Leia relationship in this movie just as much as I buy the Anakin Padme relationship from episode 2. It is just as logical because they've shown no evidence for these characters to even like each other that much. They yell at each other for half the movie. And he borderline assaults her on the ship. And then, I really did like you, I was just playing hard to get because I'm a psycho. But this movie's good. This movie's good. It's just got a lot of weird problems. And I don't... Now here's where it gets good though, because at the end it's kind of like a slow build. It's not a lot of cool things. You know they're gonna escape. You know they wouldn't kill Han and Leia and get captured in the middle of the movie. So you know they're gonna escape. Then we get to the end. The end is the best part of the film for sure. This fight. I mean, I haven't seen Return of the Jedi in a long time. This fight probably the best lightsaber fight, unless the one in Jedi gets better. So good, so perfect. The I'm your father moment, great, still great. Acting a little kind of funny, a little kind of no, it's a little too much. It's a little over the top, a little too much, but great. I'm not quite sure why you would build something like this, but it looks cool. Now, I cruised through this movie because there's not a lot to talk about. It's a very empty movie. They spend so much time on Hoth really doing nothing. They spend so much time with Yoda, not really doing a lot. A lot of time in the ship, Millennium Falcon. What are they doing? Oh, it's broken again. And then it ends on Cloud City, and Cloud City stuff is great. This scene in particular, I'm not sure why Luke insists on dressing like he's still a potato farmer or whatever from Moisture Farm. I know it's Moisture Farm. From Tatooine, I don't understand why he's dressed like that. It's just on a repeat viewing, not seeing this movie in 12, 15 years. It's fine. It's good. It's got great moments. It's iconic. Sure, it's all those things. But it really is how some people say, like, these movies are for kids. These movies are not that deep. Well, they might be deep, but they're not that, like, this isn't Inception where you're like solving a mystery in your head for weeks after it. It isn't even something like Kill Bill that's really basic but has a lot going on. Like, it's just very, it knows what it is, and it's just a space fun time adventure, and that's all it is. That's all it is. Because even when people are in danger, it doesn't feel like they're in danger in this movie. It never, I mean, I guess if I hadn't seen it before, I might be worried. But it's not. There's nothing harrowing about it. And it's really good, and it's extremely impressive. Extremely impressive for the time, and I know it's been touched up. But it's not... I'm coming to the conclusion, and I still have to watch Jedi, coming to the conclusion that all 6 of these movies are roughly about the same. Now, granted, the prequels definitely lower in terms of dialogue. Maybe not acting. Acting sometimes definitely worse. But some of those moments in the prequels are great. The Darth Maul fight, phenomenal. I think the Dooku fight is great. A lot of the fights from the third one, also great. There's a ton of fantastic moments in the prequels, and there's a ton of fantastic moments in the original trilogy. Everyone needs to just stop yelling at each other. I think that's what the problem is. It's what and I saw the original trilogy first, before I saw the prequels. Granted, I was young. I was young when I saw all of these for the first time. So effectively, to me, they all feel like Star Wars, and they're all of the same nostalgia. Maybe that's the attitude to have. Just be glad we even got more movies. It is your life, right? You can watch episode 1 and skip all the Jar Jar scenes, and you should. It's going to be a better movie. For damn sure. But there's not a lot to say. There's really not a lot to say about Empire Strikes Back. It's good. It's a movie. It has Star Wars in it. Yay. Happy birthday, Star Wars. It's not Star Wars' birthday. Is it? No. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not, I just can't be excited about anything anymore. And we're just going to leave this scrolling thing up. Oh, we're going to have some impressions now. I have played. Turn this on. I played about 25 hours of Xenoblade Chronicles X. And I've yet to get into a mech. I'm right up to that point. The skells, the mechs. Now, let me open up my other document here because there's a lot going on. Now the plot, it's all spacey, sure, whatever. It's great. It's interesting. Well, great might be the wrong word. It's interesting, but it's got, I don't know, it's got some weird problems. So the structure is basically like an MMO. And if you played any MMO, you might recognize any of the UI, or how it does things, or how cooldowns, or basically every battle is waiting for cooldowns and using the right moves at the right time. And there's a voice mechanic where, depending on what move you do during certain triggers, that are trigger warning, you can use another move and it heals the party and does this whole thing. There's a little mini game that you press B at the right time, and that really, really helps you because there's no other way to really heal. But you can see this battle is basically like an MMO. The world is fundamentally like an MMO. You're controlling aggro a lot. Well, controlling aggro might not be the right term, but avoiding combat, particularly with things that are freaking giant and will just kill you in one hit. But the game's lenient in that, it's not like you have to restart or something. You just respawn. Fast travel is great. The world is huge. The world is huge and varied and beautiful, and I mean, every time I get by, I'm like, I'm bored of this area. And then you keep going. You're like, what the hell is this? And it just keeps going into these crazy worlds that are each more interesting than the one previous and vastly different. Like, this is a field. There's a desert area that is beautiful and has like this giant spaceship thing that crashed into a weird disc orb. And then there's the forest of Noctilum or whatever it is. And it's these giant trees with these huge flowers and these creatures. Like, that's the sense of scale in this game, is these creatures that are 100 times your size just drinking out of water. And you're like, I'm not messing with that thing. That's really cool. It's really a lot of good things going on here. Oh, back to the MMO. It does feel very MMO structure-y. You're gonna get every quest and start it from the same, like every main quest. You know it's a main quest because it says story quest, like big icon, and you go and walk into it, and the story is gonna progress from there and start from the same base barracks each time, at least each time so far. And then it does annoying things where it's like you gotta organize your party, but like no one's ever in your party, so you have to go and find them in the world, in the town, New LA, where you are, to add them to your party. Like, you can't just pick from a list like, hey, put this guy in my party because I need him for this quest. No, you have to sit there and find him on the map if you don't know where they are. But either way, you still have to run over to them. It doesn't make any sense. All the quests are basically kill a bunch of things or collect a bunch of things. And even if they don't appear to be, it's like, go over here to investigate this thing. And what are you going to do there? Probably collect something or fight something. And that's fine, because that's really what all games are in the first place. But and I don't mind doing it. I definitely don't mind doing it. It's just so much of it. And it's becoming like, all right, just whatever, just give me the quest, I don't care. Furthering the MMO thing too, there's an auto run button, but it doesn't work all the time. Like, there's a little visual cue that kind of moves the camera when you lock it, but other than that, I can't really tell that I'm auto running sometimes, and I'll do this thing like a car that can't start right, where I'm like, and then I'm auto running, and then you can just kind of let the game go and you control the camera and fiddle around on your mini map. Now here's the issue though. There's a couple issues. Your character is an avatar, and not the avatar, not James Cameron avatar. None of those. And you create this character, and I create this cute little girl to go kill monsters because I want it to be as anime as possible. That's what I want from this game. And there's no reason, she never talks, first of all. There's no reason for her to be a created character. Every other character is more interesting because they actually have a backstory. You get to choose dialogue options that you're saying, but other than that, you really don't talk that much at all, and it adds really nothing. It adds really nothing to the game to be your own avatar. It feels very dated in its execution. We're talking pre-Mass Effect, where it was like a talking head, except you don't even talk. So Fallout 3. Think of Fallout 3 and how much your character actually mattered to the story, because they didn't matter at all. And they don't matter here either. Now, you can take on a bunch of side missions, but you can only take on one main story mission at a time, which makes sense. So you can either have one main story mission going on or one affinity mission at the same time. And affinity missions are, they fill in the backstory for the other characters that are happening in the world. And you can't cancel these quests. So if you start a main story quest, you can't cancel it, which is fine, whatever. You're doing the main story, that's fine. And you can't cancel an affinity quest, which is not fine, which leads to about 2 hours of my life where I was stuck in this quest, and even with the internet, it took me 2 hours. Even with the internet, it took me 2 hours to do this optional affinity mission that has nothing to do with anything, and I could not cancel it. I could not continue with the game. So this quest requires you to find an item that you can get by mining, and you mine by you planting these probes at various spots on the map, and you can mine and do other things. I had one of these items already, and I looked through all my probes, and I found out one of my probes could mine for this thing, white macalite or something. Now, if I didn't find that one probe, I would have no clue at all in this game as to where to find the rest of them. Okay. Now, I would assume I get more probes. Okay, but it doesn't tell you where to go. So I would have to be running around and just getting all the probes, which could conceivably take hours since you don't know which ones to get, and there are many, many all over the map. One I found on a completely different continent than the other two. I used a guide to tell me mine here, these two places, and then I could do it. Okay, that's not the whole quest. The next part of the quest tells you to, hey, find 2 of these energy cores from Puges. But it doesn't tell you what those are or where they are. Now, you can look at the monster glossary thing and find, I think, where they are and what they are. And then you have to grind for that item, because it's not a guaranteed drop, because I fought about 6 to 8 of them before, no drops. But you can go and trade in your little reward tickets, which I'm not quite sure how they work, but I had enough to buy that item instead, because I'm not grinding anymore after I already grinded for all this bullshit item. Then the other item it tells you, it just tells you, hey, go to this area and find 6 of these things. That area is an entire continent. But luckily, you don't have to search. It's at the very beginning of that continent, and you'll find them on random pickups. That's easy. But this quest, even using the internet, took me almost 2 hours. And I could not progress the main story. I couldn't change the party. I couldn't do anything. And this level of disrespect to the player is I can't even put it into words. How I don't want to pick any affinity missions in the rest of this game. I don't want to play any of them. Now, you have to play some of them to unlock story missions. So those I do play. But any of the other ones, no. No way in hell. Fool me once, shame on me. Okay? Fool me twice, I'm not playing any more of this damn game. Okay, Xenoblade, you do it again, it's over. It's lights out for you. Because that's ridiculous. No quest, if you're just doing that quest. Like, sure, a quest can take 2 hours, don't get me wrong. I like long quests, that's fine. There have been story quests that have been 2 hours long. But the difference is, I was doing this quest the entire time. But I had to mine for this shit. And if I just had that one mining place and I didn't know where to find the other ones, I could have conceivably waited hours to mine this material. Hours. Where I just have to wait. I just have to wait for it to happen. Because there's nothing else I can do. And a 2-hour quest is fine if you're going to point A to point B while doing the quest. But a 2-hour quest is not fine if you're literally waiting for something to happen and you're just sitting around or running about not knowing where to do or where to go. That's when it's not okay. And this is not okay. That quest, not okay at all. The person who designed it, the QA team that looked at it and said it was okay, I would have to rethink your priorities in life, because my priorities in life do not involve fumbling and bumbling on a quest for no freaking reason. That's completely optional. That should not be this obtuse. It's the only one that's been like that, but that doesn't make it right. And I really do like the game though. I do like the battle system. It kind of gets a little. Sometimes the battle system's amazing, and sometimes it's kind of just samey and boring. But when it clicks and when it's right, it's really fun. The world, I mean, if you like to explore, it's almost worth it just to run around. Like, there is so much to see. And so many creatures, like the world design, and you see me platforming, it's huge. It is unlike anything else in any game you've played, probably ever. The sense of scale. These creatures that are the size of mountains. It's fantastic. That stuff's fantastic. The gameplay's fun. It's confusing. Thankfully, you don't have to understand how half of it works. There's skills, there's classes, there's arts. You can select different things. You can level up skills and arts, and it's a lot. There's all these weapons. You can equip fashion gear so you look differently than how you're actually equipped. Another MMO thing. Not that bad. The problem with the overworld is that it never really encourages actually fighting things. Like, you'll run into a story objective and it's like, okay, this is clearly a dungeon zone, so I'll fight the things here. But other than that, everything's either way below your level or way above your level, or there's so many things along the way that you cannot stop and fight them because it'll take you hours to get anywhere. There's so many creatures that you have to smack in the butt, like this weird boar thing. But it's fun. It is fun to do that. It's just there's so much. It's so big. And like I said, I'm just like 25, 26 hours in. Still don't have the Skells, the giant mech that's on the cover of the box. And I from what I hear, that is an amazing change in gameplay and change in what you're doing. And that's great. That's great. The story so far is a little weak, but it's cool. It's interesting, but it's not run out and scream it from the mountaintops. I don't know. I'm a bit wishy-washy on it because it is really fun and it is unique. It's not like anything else that really came out this year, except for maybe an MMO. But sometimes it is so just positive, so messed up. And here you can see some of the arts. Like, I got all these arts which go on my little battle palette thing that you use in battle. And there's range attacks and melee attacks. You can equip a sword and guns at the same time, depending on your class, depending on your level, depending on this. And then you can upgrade each of them independently for every single character. And it's just too much. To say that reading the manual is required is not an understatement. It is required. Because I have read it front to back. And when I unlocked something at 20 hours in overdrive, I went and I read about it. How do I do that again? I'm still not sure exactly how it works. But even with all that, it's still so much fun. Because it doesn't require you to know. It doesn't require you to be a master at any of it. So you can just fumble and bumble around like I fumble and bumble around. I don't know. I anticipate playing, hopefully finishing, maybe, this game and then giving like a full actual review, because it depends on how things go, because we're at the make or break point here where I've kind of seen a lot of the world, maybe half of it. I've maxed out my class I've picked and I see zero reason to level up any of the other ones. I looked at their skills. I'm not a fan. I like this one. But it's fun, and that's it. That's what it is. It's good. You'll know if this game's for you. If you don't, it's probably not for you. That's what it is. That's what Xenoblade Chronicles is. Xenoblade Chronicles X. It got great, but let me look at it. It's got some great, in a world where we had Fallout 4 with some great vistas, and Witcher 3 especially with some great vistas. This game goes toe to toe in terms of amazingly beautiful scenery. It really does. Super awesome. And that's it. That's not what I wanted at all. This has been the show for all 1,700,000 people that aren't watching. I do it every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. You can watch it on YouTube. Just on YouTube. Some people got mad at my Star Wars review. That was funny. I enjoyed that. It's not that great. It's not the be-all, end-all. The Matrix is better. Suck it.